Hey, NBA fans, we'll get into today's show in just a second, but with Christmas around the corner, NBA face coverings are on sale, and it's a perfect stocking stuffer, so get your loved ones one while they're on sale at chatsports.com/NBA mask. You can get solo packs all the way up to 4 packs for your favorite NBA teams. Tons of different styles for all 30 NBA teams at chatsports.com/NBA masks. So get them today while they're on sale, up to 30% off. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on in to today's video. You're watching NBA Now. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we got some trade rumors to get into, plus a little bit of news toward the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. But let's start with James Harden. A lot surrounding him right now, as there's a couple different angles here. He did not show up at practice today because apparently he was too busy attending Lil Baby's birthday party out in Atlanta on Thursday. And oh, guess what? COVID-19's a thing, so you have to go through certain protocols before he can be admitted into the practice facility. That's been, 3-4 days? So I would guess probably another 3 or 4 more before he is allowed to enter the facility. By the way, at a strip club in Atlanta, we know he got some of those wings. Lou Williams, you out there? Let us know if you're watching. Tim McMahon had this note. He covers the NBA and ESPN. Steven Silas, the former Mavs assistant, Rockets' new coach, basically said, you're going to have to ask him if he's committed to the Houston Rockets, because obviously he wanted to be traded to the Brooklyn Nets. There's a lot of trade rumors surrounding him, and now he's skipping practice because he has to go to Lil Baby's birthday party out in Atlanta at a strip club. Mark Stein added this as well. Obviously, the Rockets traded for John Wall, and Wall said that he's reached out to Harden. They've had a good talk, and that he fully expects him to be here. So we'll see what happens when it comes to James Harden and the Rockets. I kind of feel like this is one of those situations where James Harden feels like he can do whatever he wants, and he'll just show up a little bit before the season, and then he'll be ready to rock. And then you've got this as well, that apparently Harden would say no if the Warriors tried to trade for James Harden. This according to Bill Simmons of The Ringer, of course. And we'll see if Harden actually gets traded. I think at this point it may not actually happen. Here's an expanded quote from Bill Simmons. Here's the problem if you're Harden. You're not winning the title if they do that, because Klay Thompson is out for the year. So you're going to play with Steph Curry, Draymond, and you're not going to win the title. You're in the same spot you're in now, so he'll veto that. With no Klay Thompson, he's not talking himself into that, which, by the way, he can't actually veto a trade. James Harden doesn't have a no-trade clause, so I think Simmons is saying that he's got the power to veto a trade, but from a technical standpoint, he actually cannot. So we will see. And by the way, would he veto a trade to Golden State? I'm not convinced that would actually happen. Now, Harden's obviously one of the premier players in the NBA, and he wanted to go play with Brooklyn. Seems like that has died down. Russell Westbrook got traded. Now you're hearing murmurs that he wanted to play with John Wall. So I do expect that he will report at some point, and he does have an individual workout scheduled for tonight. I would assume that's not at the facility since the COVID-19 protocols. Several teams have been linked to Harden, none of them super strongly outside of the Nets. Boston was linked to him briefly, the Nuggets, Miami, Philadelphia, but with how much money he makes, going to be hard for any team to trade for him at this point in time. Obviously, it's possible, but it's going to be a little bit unlikely. Will the Rockets trade James Harden? Type Y for yes, type in for no. This will be the pinned comment on today's video, so go ahead and get your votes in, Y for yes or in for no. Let's talk to Paul George. His NBA analysis had a couple of intriguing trade ideas that we wanted to talk about on today's show. It's been an interesting few weeks for George and the Clippers. You had this thing where Paul George hopped on Matt Barnes' podcast and basically said that Doc Rivers was using him as like a J.J. Redick spot-up shooter type. And then Doc Rivers, then George also said, I want to retire as a Clipper. And you're hearing all these stories about locker room issues, right? How Kawhi Leonard can just show up whenever the hell he wants. He's late for team flights because he's living in San Diego. And how he and Paul George are getting preferential treatment. And quite frankly, I think Doc Rivers was kind of tired of it, which is why that relationship came to an end there. Doc even said, look, we all got to take responsibility because things did not end the way we wanted them to last season. We'll see what happens this year. Could a trade be on the table? I'm not super convinced Paul George has a ton of trade value at this point, but this is an idea that NBA Analysis cooked together with Sacramento. Paul George and Ivica Zubac to Sacramento. Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, and Rashawn Holmes to the Clippers, plus a 2021 and a 2023 first-round pick. Honestly, I wouldn't do that if I'm Sacramento. I don't want to trade 2 first-rounders for Paul George. I don't think Paul George is worthwhile at this point as a true superstar. He's definitely not a number 1, and last year he proved he couldn't be a number 2 because he did not play that well in the playoffs for LA. And obviously, Buddy Hield, younger player, I think you could, certainly George is better overall, but Hield is younger. He's a better pure shooter, in my opinion, than Paul George, although the numbers wouldn't suggest so last year. I still think Hield's got a better spot-up game than Paul George. Sacramento is not in any position to be trying to trade for second-tier superstars. Like, I'm not in on that. You look at the lineup it would be if they got Paul George. Is that a playoff team? I mean, not in the Western Conference. Also, I'm not convinced on the fit with Halliburton and Fox in the backcourt. You signed Whiteside. We'll see how that goes. But you don't have any real true fours because in this trade, you would have traded both of them led by Marvin Bagley. This is what the Clippers would look like. I think I probably like this better for the Clippers, especially since they get the draft compensation as well. Sure, you lose Zubac in the middle also, but you got Serge Ibaka who can plug in and start. I don't think Paul George gets traded ultimately because I don't think a team's trading a lot of draft capital for him, and I don't think the Clippers are going to move him unless they get multiple first-round picks, which I don't see happening at this point in time. Now, the NBA season is just around the corner. Got about 2 weeks, and the City Edition gear has been released, so why not get your loved ones a perfect Christmas present? You can get jerseys and other gear at chatsports.com/NBA City. A lot of the jerseys this year are sweet for all 30 NBA teams. You got backpacks as well. Love the Golden State Warriors look with that one. Jackets, all kinds of stuff at chatsports.com/NBA City. Go check the comments, check the description. We got that link in there. And yes, face coverings are on sale as well. If you want to go with, a cheaper, more bang for your buck Christmas present, more of a stocking stuffer, get a face mask at chatsports.com/NBA mask. Solo packs all the way up to 4-packs, up to 30% off. So get some City Edition gear, get some face coverings. Holidays are here. I get everybody's on a budget at this point. That's why we're hooking you guys up with our partners, Fanatics, chatsports.com/NBA mask. And for that City Edition gear, it's chatsports.com/NBA City. Let's talk CJ McCollum. Could he get traded? NBA Analysis threw together an idea between him and the Knicks. We'll look at those details in just a minute. But many do believe that maybe it's time that Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum get split up, that Western Conference Finals run a couple of years ago could be the best we see from them two together as a 1-2 punch, right? Like, neither of them is a very good defender. Both great scorers, entertaining, but the Blazers have had issues defending. Now, they'll have Nurkic back this year. Melo's going to come off the bench. They added Robert Covington, so got some different pieces in there. But if you're the Knicks trying to get a big-name player in there, maybe a CJ McCollum could make some sense. This was the trade proposal. McCollum and Zach Collins for Julius Randle, Frank Ntilikina, a first-round pick via the Clippers, and then a first in 2021 and in 23, both those from the Mavericks via the Kristaps Porzingis trade. So the Knicks wouldn't actually trade any of their own first-round picks, just picks that they have garnered over the past few years, that Marcus Morris trade with the Clippers, and then that Kristaps trade with the Dallas Mavericks. So who would say no to this trade? Type POR for Portland, type New York or NYK for the New York Knicks. If I'm the Blazers, if I can get 3 first-round picks for McCollum, I like McCollum, but that's quite a bit for a guy who's really just kind of a secondary scorer at this point. He doesn't distribute that much, isn't a very good defender. I like McCollum. He's a fun player, but he's not a number 1 or probably even a number 2 on a championship-winning team. So I think you could argue that 3 first-round picks were more valuable than C.J. McCollum. Now, this is what the Blazers would look like without McCollum. It would be kind of a depth play, right? You get those draft picks. You kind of bolster your bench a little bit there as well. Get a good defensive guard in Ntilikina. Julius Randle could play some defense as well. Obviously, you'd miss McCollum scoring in that backcourt. Knicks would look like this. I still don't think this is a playoff team, but you get a little bit of excitement in Madison Square Garden. Who knows, right? Like, I'm not convinced that this is something the Blazers are going to do. I don't think they're going to split up their duo at this point. I think they're going to give it a shot this season, then maybe reassess come next season. Now, we've talked about 3 NBA stars. Who is most likely to be traded? Type JH for James Harden, type PG for Paul George, type CM for CJ McCollum. I think the most likely is still Harden, but I don't think those odds are super high. I think probably 3 weeks ago they were at like 60, 70%. I'd say now they're at like 30. I think he's going to give it a run with John Wall, but we'll have to wait and see. Get your votes in, JH, PG, or CM. All right, we'll get to some news. Speaking of the Blazers, they've had to shut down their practice facility. 3 positive COVID-19 tests over the past 4 days. Going to be something to monitor throughout the season in the NBA because unlike the NFL and college football, there's only 15 players on an NBA roster, 17 if you count the two-way guys. So if 2, 3, 4 guys get it, can you play some games? It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Blazers released a statement saying over the past 4 days, we've had 3 positive COVID-19 test results within the organization. Out of an abundance of caution, having completed contact tracing, we are closing our practice facility today, doing a deep cleaning while confirming the rest of the tests. So we will, that's from their owner there. So we will see what happens moving forward. But teams are going to be cautious. They're going to take this seriously. You've seen it in the NFL for the most part. It's been handled pretty well. We'll see how it goes in the NBA. One more story in a sec, but first, get subscribed to Chat Sports. We have nonstop coverage of the NBA. The season is almost here. We'll continue our coverage on into the season. It's been a hectic offseason. Been a weird year with all the calendar changes, the stop, the bubble, the restart, all of that stuff, the offseason, draft, and free agency. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage. If you have, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our NBA videos. All right, Tristan Thompson update, and then we will sign off here. He's expected to miss most of training camp with a hamstring injury. Brad Stevens is optimistic that he will be ready to go for that opener against the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, a big money game for the NBA opening night, so hopefully that happens. Signed that 2-year, $19 million contract this offseason. Tristan Thompson coming in to rebound and play some defense for the Celtics. Obviously, there's a big question who's going to be the starting center. Is it going to be Daniel Tice, Tristan Thompson? I think it'll be Thompson because he's a better defender and a better rebounder. Tice can be that energy guy off the bench. He's certainly a better three-point shooter. Don't get it twisted. Thompson had very limited attempts last season. That number is not indicative of his three-point shooting ability. But I'm intrigued by this Celtics team. Hopefully Thompson gets healthy. Kemba's been banged up as well. Also, a couple of other guys have been in and out. But hopefully by the time the season gets here, most of these guys are healthy. They're ready to rock. And this Celtics team can take a swing at making a run to the NBA Finals. All right, we'll leave you with this question. Who starts at center? Type T for Thompson, type D for Daniel Tice. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. And remember, subscribe to Chat Sports. More NBA coverage your way throughout the entire season. I'm Harrison Graham signing off, and we'll see you next time.